mode.
All right, welcome to Build Your AutoCAD IQ. Welcome and welcome back to those of you who joined us before. This week we're going to be talking about back to basics and beyond, tables with style. Volker Coco will be our main presenter, and then we've got panelists Sean Niles, I'm Victoria Studley, Noman Maisorawala is one of our expert elites. You may have seen him around the forums. He'll be joining us as well. Volker, over to you.
Yep. Hey, thanks, Victoria, and thank you, everybody. Again, today we're going to start talking about tables in AutoCAD. So initially this was back to basics, but it goes beyond that, and we're going to just take a look at all the an overview of tables and some geeky details about creating table styles. Before we begin, I'm going to have Victoria run, I think, 3 polls here that we typically like to start off with. Some of these have changed, so if you're getting bored with what we've had, I'd appreciate it if you could take a look at these here and give us your contribution. And Victoria?
All right, the first one here is this your first Autodesk Help webinar? I'm going to launch it right now. If you guys could just answer yes or no. We'll leave it open for about 20 seconds. All right, and it looks like most of you have been here before. All right, I'll close it out. All right, the second one here, this is a new question that we're curious about. We'd like to know, have you accessed the Autodesk Subscription Center in the last 6 months? And Subscription Center, we're saying, you know, if you've accessed it for support or to access your downloads for any reason. Okay, it looks like we're about 50-50 split on yes and no. All right, we'll close that out. Okay, and then the third one here, we'd also like to know which is the primary software that you use. AutoCAD LT, AutoCAD, one of our verticals, architecture, MEP, Civil 3D. Okay, well, looks like we've got a pretty good mix there of AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT. A few less of the verticals.
Yeah,
what do you think, Volker?
that is great. Great information. And I want to just briefly touch on the polls. As far as the subscription center goes, if you aren't familiar with it, which it looks like a few people weren't, send an email to the Autodesk Help webinar email address, which you'll see in a few moments, and we can certainly send you some information on that. Basically, you have an account manager, and that account manager should be adding you to that or notifying you about the subscription center. And I'll actually have more news on subscription in a moment. As far as the vertical, the reason you may have noticed I've separated that poll a little bit, and we are looking to add segue into some webinars on the vertical applications. So it's good to know who's using what. It'll be in this series, but it'll be on a different day and probably only once a month for the time being. But it's good to know who's out there and what they're working with, and it'll also give other users a chance to see what those verticals are all about if they choose to join that particular session. We will also be transitioning from just doing everything on AutoCAD LT to some future webinars which are going to focus on some of the tools that are available in AutoCAD. This will give the AutoCAD LT users some exposure to what is in AutoCAD that they may be missing and may be of value. It's all information is what it is. So let me kind of go through some of the routine slides here. Leave questions in the chat windows as they pop up in your head, and the panelists will be happy to answer those. If the webinar runs a little long and we don't have a lot of time typically for the questions, we will stick around to answer them, so don't worry about that. The session will be recorded and uploaded, and the entire data set, including step-by-step for working with the data, will be uploaded to the Box account, where in the past you've been able to download only the PowerPoint slide. Again, check out our landing page for upcoming webinars. This image here is out of date. At the end of the webinar, I'll show you some of the upcoming presentations, and I will say that in a few weeks we will be doing some presentations on the new features of the soon-to-be-released AutoCAD 2016. Here is that webinar address which I was telling you about. Whoops. So if you do have questions or suggestions for us, feel free to email that or leave it in our feedback community page. Some of our previous sessions that have been available were at webinar 27 now. You can find all these on the YouTube channel, Build Your AutoCAD IQ, or you can go to our feedback page, and there will also be a link to the YouTube playlist. These are still some of the top hotfixes that are available. I discussed these in detail. Again, the most important one here is, oops, forgot to turn that off. The most important one here is that we need to, we are making some changes to our licensing server to avoid problems with the Poodle secure socket layer vulnerability. So there is a hotfix if you're on a subscription program or on a anything using or wanting to use download from the subscription center. You would want to install this licensing hotfix to avoid any disruption in service with your AutoCAD products or Autodesk products. Quick reminder here, and you should, if you haven't, have gotten an email about this. Actually, I think it's going out today. The subscription center itself, the one we just had the poll on, is being retired. It's not really going to affect you much. There is going to be a change in the interface. You will be automatically redirected to Autodesk account, and you can certainly update your bookmarks now if you want to, but be aware that if you do log on, you're going to see a new interface designed to expedite things for you, make it easier to find things. All right, so let's talk about today's agenda. We're going to talk about tables. And what tables are, think of them as an Excel spreadsheet in AutoCAD. In the past, we would create a table from line work. We'd manually place text in it, maybe insert a block to create a legend, or we had to maybe create a bill of materials. We had to manually add up any numeric data. Tables allow us to automate a lot of this and create a consistency across the board. We can easily create new tables and styles for those tables. We can also easily modify these tables as opposed to having to maybe erase line work, erase text, add new text. You can also create a table from a data link. So if you have a Excel spreadsheet, for example, you could certainly insert the data from that Excel spreadsheet into a AutoCAD drawing as a table, and this actually is a lot better than maybe using an OLE type of link. But you know, whatever works best for the end user, I suppose. We're also going to go into creating a table style, and I'll show a little bit about adding formulas for calculations. We don't have a lot of time, so it's a little bit of everything. Um, uh, but there are resources which I've put into this PowerPoint slide that will give you more information. And like I said, you'll have the data set to work with. So having said that, I'm going to jump into AutoCAD LT. And yeah, there we go, AutoCAD LT. And let me just kill something here real quick so we don't get bothered. All right, so here we have a, well, typical layout, and we are going to go ahead and just take a look at what we have for tables. If I were to take a look at the new drawings, you would see that under the Annotate tab, we have tables, this entire section of tables. So this is a command to insert the table. And if you hover over any of these buttons and you want more information, just let it sit for a moment. It'll give you additional information. You can also just hit F1 and it'll take you right to the help file about that feature. Here you can choose from a style. Now we only have one table style by default in AutoCAD. They cannot be annotative such as other styles. Here we can download information from a data source we might have linked to or upload the data. We can also create a new style just by clicking on this button, and we'll do that a little bit later. So let's get back to our layout here, and we're just going to go ahead and take a look at a table style that has already been created here. And what I'll do is go into the table command, and you'll see that we can choose those styles here as well. If what you're looking for is not available, you can quickly launch that table style dialog and create a new style quickly, or take time too. I mean, it depends on the complexity of the table. This dialog gives you insert options. One, to start from an empty table using the style that you have selected, or from a data link. Here you have a preview of the style that is current. We can specify a window within which we want to have that table placed. That in turn would gray out some of this, the width and height of rows and columns. You can always choose how many columns or how you want. In this case here, we can also choose cell styles. We'll talk about those later. But in this case, I'm going to just specify an insertion point. I'm going to change a column value here to 9, and we'll go ahead and set the height to 1 inch, and it's using the default units in the drawing right now. I'll put data rows at 3, and we'll leave the row height at a default. All these things can be changed later, just like a table in Microsoft Word, Excel. We have pretty much the similar functionality. And as you can see, it gives me a table outline here. And once I insert that table, you'll see that just like in Excel, our headers and our row fields as well. So this would be row A1, B1, and so forth. Going to the Properties selector manager over here, it will give you information about our table as well, and I'll show that in a moment. Right now I'm going to go ahead and type door schedule. And I can use either a tab key To move to the next cell, I can use the Enter key to move down, and I can use Shift-Enter to move up. So this is some of the ways we can get around in this table. Obviously, I can also use the mouse to do the same thing. When I first select a cell using the mouse, it highlights that cell and allows me to make changes either here in the property palette, or if you notice our context ribbon up here, there's a lot of information as well. Most of this is in the property palette as well. But we can insert our rows, we can delete rows, we can insert columns, delete columns, match cell properties, justify the text or objects we have in that cell. We can lock our cells. We can edit the border styles and much more. Insert fields. Here's our formulas that we can work with. We'll talk more about those later. We can also link cells to other cells in other tables so that whatever value I populate here would appear in the other table as well. The way this is set up, if you'll take a look here, this door schedule, this is considered the title row. Okay, and that was defined in the table style. The second row, by default, is going to be the header row, also defined in the table style. The third row and down are all data rows. By default, anything I type into a table is considered to be a general type of data, okay? And this is the same as in AutoCAD as well. So I'm fumbling for my notes here real quick because I forgot all the headers that I have. I'm going to go ahead and type some in here. I could have made some up and just spoiled everything that way. Go ahead and type width, and you'll see I'm just tabbing across right now. Go ahead and add height. We'll go ahead and add thickness. And notice how it word wraps as I put that in there. Let's go ahead and put matte, finish, HW, frame type, and comments. So because we defined a specific width for the cell, you know, some of this is not fitting as expected. Certainly wouldn't want this to appear this way. I would maybe also want to make this look a little prettier by having defined some different fonts or font thicknesses in the table style itself. What we can do, though, is just like in our mText editors, I double-clicked in this cell, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight this text, and what I can do is change it to a different text style, so maybe scheduled title. And you can do this for any of the cells. You could just overwrite with a font like you would in mText. So I'm not going to spend a lot more time on that because that's how that works. You just highlight the text. And again, just selecting it does not allow you to modify the text. You have to double click in it and then you can modify the text. I'm going to go ahead and switch over here. And what if I don't like this thickness? That's kind of word wrapping in the middle of the text itself. So I'm going to resize this. Okay, selecting the table anywhere on one of the line work, the border lines. We see numerous grips here, and they all have a purpose. There's one here in the top left corner, and this is basically to allow you to move the table. It's just the easiest way actually to move a table. You could do it using AutoCAD OSnaps and the move command, but this is certainly a lot faster and it's readily available. So pick and allows me to move. Speaking of O-snaps, I'm going to turn those off right now. These grips here allow me to resize my columns. Now what happens is if I just click on it, it actually does exactly what I wanted it to do. It resizes this column, but this one here is getting squished, to use a technical term. So maybe I don't want that. Maybe what I want to do is change the width of this, but have everything else remain constant. So I'm going to hold down on the Control key. I'm going to pick on the grip, and now I'm going to go ahead and resize that column. Okay? And the same for this one here. I'm just picking out Control key, pick, and resize. And I probably should have made that into 2 words. I am not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to go ahead and pick with the Control key, pick. There we go. And I've resized that. Maybe I'd better do this just to show you that I can. There we go. All right, so we can easily change the size of the columns that way. We also have the ability to uniformly stretch this or resize this table. So maybe something like that. And note that it has changed the height of our cells as well. Okay. Here we can just change the table height. I'm going to undo those changes right now. There we go. And if we were to, well, actually, let's put it in here. Let's say I type in a value, and it's not going to be a height, but I just want to go back to that point about AutoCAD tables and the data types. Just like Excel, AutoCAD will understand that a number is a number. And if you're familiar with Excel, you'll know that any numbers are automatically justified to the right. But watch what happens here. If I type in something like 1, 2, AutoCAD, because it is AutoCAD, thinks that this is a coordinate. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 0, X, Y, Z. So we need to tell AutoCAD that maybe that is not a number. And so instead of having it be a point type, which it automatically assumed, I'm just going to go ahead and change that to, let's go with a, that'll give us 4 decimal places. So we'll go with general. Yeah, it's going to leave it like it is. Go with the whole number. Click OK. 1, 2. Oops, screwed up there. It's always best to format the cell. I was actually ad-libbing there, which, as you all know, I shouldn't be doing. I've done that before. Okay, so yeah, I would typically format the cell with the data type first. But I will show you that it works without formatting first. It's just the type of value I use there. So anyway, that is a basics of tables, something to be aware of right there. There are also many options available within your right click. Most of these are available up here or in the property palette, but be aware that you have these options here for alignment, for the border style. The little ellipse, the 3 dots, will take you into dialog box, so just be aware of that. We can also remove any overrides we have. So let's say we changed the color of the text. We could remove that. Data links here. We can insert objects into our table, which we'll do in another drawing momentarily. We can also add rows and columns, which I'll also cover in another drawing. Take a look at another table in this particular drawing. I'm going to go ahead and just resize this a little bit, get it out of the way. And what I'm going to do is insert a table, but this time I'm going to start from a data link. So in this case, I already have one, but I'm going to go ahead and pretend I don't have one and to go through the process with you. Here we can launch the data link manager. And if I want to, I can just delete this one here. Be aware of these right-click options. Okay. I'm going to select Create New Excel Data Link, and we'll call this, well, maybe I should be more specific. We'll call it Door. We'll click OK, and then it gives me the option to choose a path type relative, full path, or no path. Just for grins, I'll put it on no path right now, and sound effects courtesy of Winter. We will go ahead and select this Excel spreadsheet. I'll click Open, and you'll see in this dialog box here that it allows us to choose from whatever sheets are available. If we have a range within that Excel spreadsheet, we could choose it. We can then choose to link to the entire sheet. Typically, when you link to the entire sheet or a very large range, you're not going to be able to see a preview here. If you have a small range within that Excel spreadsheet, you can see the preview. And also, always be aware, if you see this little options button here, that means there's more options available. We're not going to get into these. Again, we would run out of time. So just be aware they're there. Go into the AutoCAD help. It'll give you all kinds of information about that. Let's click OK. And it shows me the file name and the path to it. You may have to hover over it to see the full file name. I'll click OK again. Once I click OK here, there is my table, which I'm going to go ahead and just pick a point right here. Now, this is just, again, there's not a lot of style to this door schedule right now. We can make this look real pretty, but we will do that in another drawing. Right now, you'll notice a couple of things that are a little different about this table. Because it has a data link, there's actually a lock icon at the corner of my crosshairs there. All these cells are locked for editing. We can still modify the table. So I could control pick, and resize that column, which is what I want to do. And if we take a look here, you'll see this is, although this would be a header or maybe even a title field, because of the way it's been formatted, it is a data row right now, so it's treated just like text here. I'm going to change this to a header, and the reason will become apparent in a moment as I move on. But it is always nice to have a header in the table. So I'm going to select the row, and I've done that by clicking on the value 1 for the row number 1. That selected the entire row, and I'm going to go ahead and change it to a header field now. And notice how the font has updated to the style of the header for that particular table. I'm going to hit escape, and that takes care of one problem. You may want to add a field here like a description. That's up to you later if you want to walk through that. Here's the bigger problem, and that is this table is way too big for my sheet of paper. We can rectify this by breaking the table. And the way we do that is by taking a look at a new grip that is introduced with that I haven't talked about anyway, and that is this one right here. It allows me to break this table into columns. Now, there is let's see. This is a good time to turn off your OSAPs if you're doing this, because they may interfere. But I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And notice as I do this, I've picked and let go basically, and now I'm pointing upwards and using that table. So let's say we make it about yay big. All right. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, and you can do that with regular M text as well. There's still a problem though. I would like to see the header on each one of these tables. So the way to do this is I'm going to select the table, and this is why I changed this to a header row. Had it been a data row, it would not populate that top row across all the other tables, or table breaks, I guess you could call them. I'm going to select here and say, look, go ahead and let's repeat that top label across all 3 tables. So again, pretty cool, huh? We do have this one table kind of off in nowhere, and maybe you have this situated differently. Maybe you don't really want it kind of hanging there like a branch. If I were to select this, I would be moving all 3 of these tables using the move button here. So what I can also do is tell, look, I want to position this manually, and as soon as I change that property to yes, I can go to the move button, grip, and I can place this anywhere I want on that layout. So again, I know that was a brief overview of that part there. We've got 2 more things I want to show you, and after that I'm going to take any questions, so if you'll bear with me on that. All right, let's take a look at our legend. In this legend, we have, it's actually the first legend I've ever created. It was actually created back in the last century. Yes, the last century when I first started AutoCAD. And that probably makes somebody feel very old right now. But you'll see, as I was saying earlier, we have text here. We have line work. If I want to modify this, I need to add all this stuff, remove stuff. Why not make a table similar that can be modified a lot easier? And that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go ahead and create a new table style. So we go here to table style. We'll click on new. And it always starts off with copy of standard, just like in a dimension style or any of the other style dialogues. So I'm going to go ahead and call this legend. I'll click continue. And this is where we make some changes to our data title and data header and title cell styles. There are a couple other buttons I'm not going to be getting into because of the time constraints, and this is where we can actually create a style for an individual cell, and that's a nice little feature as well. All right, so let's start off first with the general tab for the data cells, and we can add a fill color. For the most part, I don't do this too much. You'll see some of these fill colors in the next little tutorial I have. Here we can select our alignment, top center. I'm pretty anal about how I like to justify things. Maybe you are. It's a good thing to do. It keeps it consistent, makes it look good. You can add a data type. In this case, I'm just going to leave it on a general data format. Again, I can override that later. It is a data type. You could also make it a label type. So basically, you could make it a second header. Okay. Here we would change the margins. That is the space between the edge of the border, and let's say this were left justified, the space between the text. Okay, so border and space between text if it were left or right justified, or from the top of the border to the top of the text. I'm going to change this to a value of 1 to give it a 0.1 to give it a little buffer. And then I'm going to switch over to text, and here I'm just going to add a style that I have in the drawing. And I'm not sure why in the legend that I created I had a height of 1.875. It's been many years, so but I'm going to go ahead and change it to that just to make it the same. And I'll leave the color by block, so it's going to appear white on a black background. Then I'm going to go over to borders. And here we can assign a line weight and a line type. If you want a hidden line type for your legend, go for it. But what I want to do is add a color for my border, because mine's red. And I also have some double lines that I put there. So I'm going to go ahead and add double lines. This is the spacing for those. And I'm going to, in this case, I am going to make it look a little different than the table. I'm just going to say, hey, look, make those double lines for the entire data portion of the table. We'll now change over to the header, and it gives us a preview of the header, the second row in this case. And again, I'm going to change the color to red. And this time, I'm going to go ahead and say, look, just go ahead and do the outside borders for the header column. Actually, let's go ahead and add inside as well and make them double lines. There we go. So that updated it. And for my text on that one, I'm also going to put it at 1.1875. Again, I'm not sure why I had that value at the time, but just for grins, I'm also going to go ahead and change the text color to cyan. And middle center is the justification I want to see there. And note how it's a label type. Go ahead and change that to 0.1, 0.1. And let's finally do the title here. Change that to 0.1 also. And middle center, all that's good. Text, we're going to go ahead and change to title text. And in this case, whoops, 0.75. And I'll also make that a cyan color just for grins. And one final thing, our borders. I'm going to do the double line, color red, outside only, which of course it's not going to do an inside. It doesn't have any other cells. But I'll click OK. It automatically sets that table current. We click close. And now using this, I'm going to go ahead and make five columns. I think I had, no, not 5 columns, 2 columns. And actually, let's make it 4 columns and 5 rows. We'll change the column width. We'll specify 4.5 because that's what I need for the text. And a row height of 1. We'll click OK. And there's my table. So we'll go ahead and actually probably go ahead and use capitals here as well. And pretty much voila, there we go. So let's take a look at some cool stuff here in the tables. We have a legend over here. And the way I had to do this was I had to take these blocks, insert them, and scale them to fit appropriately. And then I'd place the text, and I had to maybe draw a construction line to place that text in there as well. Keep in mind, this is, I would probably put a little more thought into this and time into it, but what I'm going to do is basically the same thing right now, is I'm going to, whoops, I double-clicked. I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to use the insert option for block. And in this case, I know that the block I want, my happy circuit. Yes, I'm going to go ahead and insert this. I want it to be justified middle center. I'm not going to put a rotation on it. The one thing I will caution you here is you keep auto fit in place. Okay? If you were to uncheck that, it would resize the cell to the size of the block. So if you have a 12, 8-foot door or something like that, then you're going to have an 8-foot cell. Okay, so you probably don't want that. So just leave this on auto fit and click OK. Now, the cell itself, or the block itself, it's auto fit. If the size of the cell is larger, so let's do that. Notice how the block also gets a little larger. Okay, so the auto fit is determined by the cell size. But let's go ahead over here and let's add some text. And in this case, happy circuit. And I hit enter, so it went down to the next field. I'm going to go ahead and just insert one more. The data set will have this instructions on how to do this. You can go over this, do as many of these as you want. But again, I just right mouse click, made the cell active. I'm going to go insert, block, and in this case, yeah, I've got so many X's here. XS 74. Why not go with that one? Just because I can't remember which one I put in the script. Okay, but it doesn't matter. It's a block. I'm going to have it in there anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And again, so this is a nice size right here, I think, for my block. Let's see how big that is. It's cell height of 0.8. I'm going to go ahead and change it to a height of 1. Now, what about the rest of these cells? Well, I could do that individually, or what I'll do is just pick in any one of the cells, drag my cursor down to the next. That allows me to selectively select my cells, okay, as many as I need to. And we'll change that cell height for those to 1. And there we go. So again, there's a lot more that I would want to insert for my legend. Maybe I would want to put a header row in here that, and actually I made the mistake here, awkward moment, I made the mistake of actually inserting this in the header row. I should have selected that row. There we go. And probably deleted it for this legend. So awkward moment. Then I would have started my legend down here. So I would have the title and just the block here, description here. Or you could keep a header row and have, block and then, or legend item and then description as a header. So completely screwed that up, guys, as far as that goes, but the functionality worked pretty well, huh? I like it. I like this as opposed to creating a table like this. Okay, we have a few minutes, well, not a few minutes, but we've got enough time to do the do a quick calculation here and talk a little bit more about data types. So I have a table here that is well, it's just a phone schedule, the type of phone it is, or name, the name brand, or whatever of the phone. We have a cost for it, the department they're in, who it's assigned to, and what the extension. But notice the cost here. And the cost is 49.9500. We don't look at dollars and cents that way, right? Well, remember, data types are, AutoCAD assumes that in this case it's a general data type and it's using the units within the drawing. So what I want to do is convert this to currency. I also want to add another row down here that will show a total for the cost of all these phones. So the first thing I'm going to do is just select one of the cells in the bottom row, and I could do this either from the ribbon toolbar, or I can right mouse click like I did and say, let's go ahead and insert a row below. And I will also go ahead and, just for grins, take these three cells, and I'm going to right mouse click and say, let's go ahead and merge these together because they really aren't doing me any good anyway. So I'll just merge those together because I only need these two rows here. And obviously I'd probably do this a lot different in the real world. This is an example, but I'd make it look a little better with totals and subtotals and stuff. But let's just go ahead and type total cost. Okay. Then we will go here and we'll change the data type. So in this case, I do have all the values in here already. And we'll go to data format and we'll tell it, hey, look, we want currency. And it automatically adds a dollar sign here, changes it to 2 decimal places. If this were some other data type, you could always go into extra formatting, which I can show you in a minute here, in fact. But what I want to do right now is I want to add a formula. I could use this tool right here to either sum up, average, count the number of items, the cells, or an equation. I can add all these formulas. And frankly, I haven't used quite a few of these. I mean, I've done an equation, count, average, and sum. I've never used cell, so I can't even tell you right now what to do with that. Okay, but the help file explains all that and how to use it. What I want to do here, though, is say, look, let's go ahead and I'm going to do my right mouse click here. I'm going to go ahead. Did I change that one? I can't remember. Nope, I never changed it to currency. I do want to do that. And then I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to say, let's go ahead and maybe I will do it from up here. The minute I do this, I'm gonna remember exactly where the right mouse click function for this is, and I'll show it to you then. But I want to sum these up. What's the total? So note the command line that says select first corner of table cell range. You could type this in. You could type in the range just like you would in Excel, but why not just do this? And it gives me that sum. But I could have typed equals sum and then B3, B9. Or I could have typed in something like equals sum B3 through B5 and then excluded 6 and added 7 and 8 and 9. So just know your formulas like in Excel and you can add this information and there is my total. Take a look at a couple other things here. First of all, maybe I want this to stand out. And, oh yeah, here, insert formula, doink. It's all right there. It's always available, and my mind just blanked out on me. But I'm going to go ahead and go into background fill for this one here. And I'm going to say, look, I do need this to stand out, so it's a lot more money than I want to pay, so let's make it red. And the field, of course, right now is overriding the color red, but keep in mind the fields do not plot. And if you really wanted to, you could turn off that field fill. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's a lot more to it, obviously, but I hope I've given you a general good overview of working, of the things you can do with tables, okay? The help file is always a great resource to get additional information. Having said that, we have a few minutes for Q&A, and if we have to, we'll make them even more minutes.
Excellent. Thanks, Volker. We've got a couple of questions in the chat window here. The first one we'd like to start with, I think, is someone would like to know if you can reverse the order of, it sounds like your columns. So instead of having them read ABC, have them read CBA. I'm
Oh, okay.
guessing.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Okay.
I do. I'm trying to think of the so I know there is a system variable here. Let's go into help. Let's do that, because in the help it lists all these system variables. But there's one that will allow you to change the color for a table for the headers and column row indicators. I can't recall if it also does the order of them. But
yeah, if it helps, the original question was, can you make a table read right to left? So I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head, but I think you got it right. Going to the help there.
So the word commands for tables. So I think it's CTB. Oh, where is it? Oh, good grief. Field display data link, nope, table indicator. Controls the display of row numbers and column letters. Okay, so on or off, that turns it on or off. There's another variable that I just ran across the other day, and I may have to post this in the box account if I can't think of it or find it. It may very well. Oh, wait a minute. This toolbar is never displayed. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have the answer right now. I know there's a way to change the color background of those. Whether we can change the order, left to right, right to left. I know you can change it where the columns are A and B, C, and then excuse me, the rows are, rows are A, B, C, and the columns are 1, 2, 3. There's a system variable for that, but offhand, without wasting a lot of time, I mean, which is what I do, trying to find it right now. But I'll post it. I will post it.
Okay. Would you like another question?
Please, please.
All right. Next one. If you were to do a data extraction to a data link, can a block and data be extracted with a block as the extraction? As in, if you have a block like you inserted into the table earlier, can the block be made part of that data extraction?
So I'm kind of assuming okay, so there are two ways, I guess. In AutoCAD LT, if we're talking about data extraction in the drawing to a table, you would have to add the block afterwards. An image of the block is what I'm assuming you're talking about. So you can extract all the information about a block. In fact, this table at one time was originally extracted from the phones that were in this particular drawing. Go to model space. So these are the phones that the data was extracted from in AutoCAD. AutoCAD LT does not have the data extraction wizard, and it's a little more cumbersome to do this. but you can create an Excel spreadsheet at that time. So the limitation with LT is that I can either link to a table, to an Excel spreadsheet, information that is uh, in the table, not the block picture or image itself, um, and I can write this information to the Excel spreadsheet, or I can update the table from the Excel spreadsheet. The one point I should make out while I'm thinking about it, and sorry, off on a tangent here, is that let's say I had extracted this or created this table from a spreadsheet on the hard drive. Then I added this total cost row and the columns, or well, just the row actually, I guess it was, in this field here. If I update the table from the Excel spreadsheet, it would get rid of this row. It would revert it back to the original look. So be careful about that. One thing you can do is if you brought in your information and then you don't want any updates from Excel, is you can right mouse click, go to data link. Whoops, not data link. Right mouse click, and where is it? Oh, well, this one here isn't linked. Doink. Table start. Let's go here. I can show it better here. So this is a data link table, but if I right mouse click here, you'll see we actually have some additional functions: download changes, upload, edit data link, open data link file, or detach the data link. Once you do that, then it is no longer a linked table, and any modifications you make to it will be the ones that you made, not you don't have to worry about any overrides from the Excel spreadsheet. And I don't know if I've answered that person's question or not, but I hope I did. Next, I guess, if you have any more, or
Okay. Oh, there are a bunch of questions in the chat
okay.
window here. So let's move on to the next one. Yeah. Can you unlock a cell that is imported from an Excel file to edit data?
Yes, yes. You certainly can. And going back to the this one right here, let's undo that. And yeah, we're gonna do one more step. Believe that. Okay, so it's locked. So you can unlock a cell or a row. So here's a cell. Oh, I thought yeah, this one isn't locked anymore. Undo a couple more steps here. I'll open up my finished drawing that I had that wasn't my start, table start, finish. There we go. Okay, so this is, and again, these sample files are in the data set that I'll put on the box account. So this table is locked. There we go. Good. For some reason, I guess it doesn't undo the data link removal there. All you have to do is click in there or select that cell, which is locked right now. I'm going to right mouse click while having that selected. I can unlock it completely. Right now it's showing me the content is locked, format locked, content and format locked, so I can lock all those or I can unlock it. Now it's unlocked, which allows me to make that change there. So I can modify this text. This cell here, which is still locked, if I double click in it, you see how it's not allowing me to modify the text. Okay, if I want to, I can select a whole row. Go ahead. Individual rows here, select the whole row, whatever, and unlock all of them at one time. Locking. There we go. Unlocked. So yes, the answer is yes, and I probably spent a lot more time saying yes than I should have. Next.
All right, next question. If you, I'm sorry, if you're starting from scratch, do you prefer to use an Excel file to build a table or use AutoCAD's table features?
It depends how much
It's like your
information.
personal preference.
Yeah, it really is. It depends how much information you have. If it's pretty large, maybe you want to bring in that Excel file. You can always apply a table style from a to a table in your drawing. So let's go maybe to the legend table here, and let's select that. And I think the only other style I have in here is the standard style. Yeah, but there we go. So once you've brought in that, you would probably definitely want to detach it from your spreadsheet, but just use whatever existing style that you've already created and change the properties of the table style.
Okay. All right, Volker, we are at the top of the hour here, so I'm going to run that last poll. But as you said before, we will stick around and answer the last couple of questions if anybody wants to stay for a couple extra minutes and listen.
Yeah, good
So let me run
catch.
that poll.
All right.
All right, last poll is, did you learn something new in today's session, yes or no? We'll leave that open for a couple more seconds.
Well, that's
Okay,
excellent
we'll close that
feedback.
down.
That is good to hear.
Okay.
Before we do answer the additional questions, let me just go back to the PowerPoint. There are a couple things for those who are still here that I wanted to show, and that is first of all, here's some additional resources. Basically, these go right to the help file. Okay, there's no better resource out there, or maybe even finding a better tutorial. But these are great resources for working with the stuff I just showed you. So here's our upcoming schedule. Obviously, we just did the table with style. Next week, we're going to do an intro to customizing the menu system. We had a great feedback on the productivity tips and tricks, so that'll be coming up in 2 weeks. And then after that, we'll be discussing what's new in AutoCAD 2016. We're going to have 3 sessions on this, one showing the functionality for both AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT, and then there's always going to be more for AutoCAD, okay? So there are going to be 2 sessions for the new features in AutoCAD, the full vanilla version of AutoCAD. So I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and first of all, thanks everybody for your time. We know it's valuable, but we hope it's always worthwhile joining these sessions. So Victoria and Naman and
All right.
Sean, if you're still here, feel free to answer in on these as well.
Okay, let's open it up. Next question is, when you use a user-defined table split, can you actually pick the row you want the table to break?
Yeah, that's a good question. I hardly ever do it that way, but if we go to, let's go to tables finished, and we select this table, here you can specify a break height. So if you know your cells are 1 unit in height, you can say, okay, I want that break to be every 10 let's say units an inch. So you could say every 10 inches, I want that table to break into a second column. That's about the best you can do as far as that goes. The spacing option down here, instead of manually moving your table, the spacing option will actually automatically So in this case, it's put it together. I'm not sure why one does that, but it actually has them touch side by side. But you can add spacing through the property palette, and the best you can do other than manually indicating where the breaks are is to type in a value based on the height of the cell. I hope that answers it. Next.
I think so. All right, I think one last question here. How do you create the template with the title block in it? Is this a table, or is it created some other way in the template? I think they're talking about your title block there, Volker.
Oh, yeah, so I just, we actually did a webinar on templates, which is on our webinar page. But basically, I just opened up the template that I use as a default. So let's say AutoCAD LT. I would then go to the layout and either using the insert command or using, in my case, I'm lazy, so I use Design Center. I drag in all the components I want and save that template file. So I would have inserted a layout, made the changes to the layout I want, inserted the title block, and then saved the template so that when it starts up, I would get something like this. I hope that was the question.
I think so.
Okay. That was in a nutshell. That was in a nutshell. I would check out our webinar on templates. I go through adding quite a bit of stuff to a template.
Yeah, and I put those links in some of the questions in the chat window, but you can also find them on the Box account or at our AutoCAD IQ website, right?
Yeah, yeah, great, great. So like I said, this data set is going to be available. You'll get the link for that in your in a follow-up email. I don't think that shows up till tomorrow. So, I mean, just for grins, if you have the patience to write this down, let's go F12. Whoops, nope. Go slideshow from current slide. Let's go back a bit here. So if you go to this address, give it an hour, okay? Give it an hour, and I will have this data set available for you, okay? But it'll also be in the follow-up email. So, how are we looking?
All right, two more quick questions.
Okay.
One is, do we do Revit webinars as well? I don't think the Revit team has started doing them yet.
No, no, yeah, we will be.
Okay.
We will be. They are. All of our products are going to be shown in webinars eventually. Well, at least the major ones, and Revit will be one of those. It's in the works. I don't have a timetable for it yet, and
soon.
Yeah. So put that in your feedback. Yeah.
Last one is, where are we pointing people who aren't getting the follow-up emails?
So I'm kind of assuming that if you haven't gotten a follow-up email, you've probably been getting the invitation from somebody else in your organization. Okay, that's an assumption, all right? If I'm wrong, don't kill me. First of all, I would recommend that you go to our landing page and you sign up for the series in that manner, okay? There's a link. If you click on one of these mugs here, it will take you to a link to sign up for our series. And then you would receive the follow-up email to your for the webinar session, as well as a reminder of the upcoming webinars. If that's not the case, or if you aren't, maybe they're getting caught in your spam folder, hey, email us, autodeskhelp.help.webinars. If you're going to email us about this series of webinars, please include the Build Your AutoCAD IQ in the subject header. Otherwise, I mean, this email goes to all of our webinars, and The simulation team is not going to be able to help you out. I will. Our Build Your AutoCAD IQ team can help. Okay.
Oh, good. Good. All right. I think that's it. So if you want to
Okay.
wrap it up, or I can.
Yeah, well, we're pretty much wrapped up, I think. Just thank everybody for their time. We know it's valuable, and we appreciate you
Yes,
being
thank you
here.
so much.
All right. Everybody take care. We'll see you next week, hopefully.